Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Monday Q&As. I know a lot of people want meat footage, they want some of the stuff from before the meet. I'll have more stuff up probably tomorrow on all of that. But I have to get these Q&As done because everyone waits for these every week and people ask their questions. So this is going to take priority. I did put up the footage of the final awards. Because the internet is full of haters, I'm going to catch flack for my actual total in lifts, because I missed the lifts that I was doing reps with a couple weeks ago, but I'll go into details of what went wrong, why I had to cut water as hard as I did the final day, and that it ultimately didn't matter that I went like 55 kilos less total than I was intending to do, purely because when we did the math, had I gone 55 kilos heavier on my total, I would have placed the exact same in the overall, which was second place. I still would have won my weight class. Either way, I would have placed the exact same. I still qualified for the British and the European either way. So it's not going to matter. And in fact, my friend John, who I rode with, he's part of my team there, he set 4 federation records and took first place. And when we did the math, had I hit every lift that I wanted to hit, he still would have taken first place. So for people who say, why didn't you win? Because I'm not strong enough. And I wasn't strong enough at the peak of my prep, even at a heavier body weight, to have won had I hit those numbers at my competitive weight. So the reality is, why didn't I win? I'm not strong enough. So I need to work on that. But let's get to these questions, guys. First question. Can an endurance athlete do your strength program for non-athletes due to the lower volume? Yeah, actually, my basic strength program that I put out, it's a 2-day-a-week program. It's always in the descriptions down below. It's very appropriate for an endurance athlete, because endurance athletes, if their primary focus is their endurance sport, their weight training is really an accessory. It's just for overall health. It's for improved work capacity, improved strength. And a program like that would be very, very appropriate for a serious distance runner. It would be perfectly acceptable. You would make good gains and they wouldn't hurt each other's progress. You could do both simultaneous just fine. It would be a good choice for them. All right, next question. Jason, if using a full body routine consisting of squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, chins, abs, focusing on low reps for strength, what's the ideal order you would do them in, and would doing bench and overhead press in the same workout cause either one to suffer? Thank you. I would probably recommend pretty much the order that you just laid out, which would be something like squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, chins. Now, to answer your question, would overhead pressing and benching in the same day hurt their performance? Yes, you're going to overhead press a little less. However, that's perfectly acceptable because it's the same muscles are basically being worked with just a slightly different focus. You're still getting the same amount of fatigue on them. You're still getting the same amount of stimulation. It's just like saying that people who squat and deadlift in the same day, which many, many strength athletes do, it would be like saying, since they're deadlifting a little less because they're fatigued from the squatting, are they still getting the benefits of the deadlift? Yes, absolutely, because they're still deadlifting at the same RPE range. And even though it's less weight, it's because they did squats first and those same muscles are fatigued. But it doesn't mean they aren't getting additional fatigue and additional growth stimulus. In fact, that is one of the benefits of running systems that have you overlap these big heavy compounds that don't necessarily have a large amount of volume, is that the overlap between the different lifts creates enough total workload and volume, even if you're doing very little on these type of programs, to benefit from. So the answer is yes, obviously one of the lifts is going to suffer, but it's not going to hurt your development. And in fact, you would find that you would gain strength very well on the overhead press, even doing it that way. But if you were to go take a day later just to test your overhead press strength, it would still have improved dramatically and would be better than it is on your normal days. So it's perfectly fine. So this idea that people get more fatigued at the end of full body makes them less effective, no, it doesn't make them less effective. You'd still gain the muscle and strength even with a slightly lighter weight from the fatigue, because you're still giving training stimulus and training adaptations from it. You're still making those adaptations. So it's really It's the only reason people have a problem with this is because of their egos, not because it's less effective. It's because they're forced to use a lighter weight later in the workout. But by that same token, the same people will go and run a split routine and they have no problem doing 7 different exercises for the same body part, even though by that 3rd exercise, they have no performance left anyways. They're weak as hell. Yet they continue to do it. So it's the same concept, really. Just you're getting more metabolic fatigue later into the workout. All right, next question. Can you talk about macronutrient timing? I would have thought you would be one of the guys who says it doesn't matter, but a couple weeks ago you said the carbs at night would best benefit the training the next day. Yeah, guys, what I've said is that, and I don't think anyone says macronutrient timing does not matter. Even people like Alan Aragon are not telling anybody that. They're saying it's largely irrelevant for most lifters. Okay, there's 2 words does not mean irrelevant. Either one of those words does not mean irrelevant. Now, first of all, it does matter, but it's your actual total daily macronutrients probably account for 99 to 98% of your gains, but that other 1 to 2% could be based around timing, and particularly becomes very, very critical for athletes who train more than once a day. If you do 2 weightlifting sessions a day, or you do a cardio session and a weightlifting session every day, your timing starts to actually become pretty important at that point. For people who train only once a day, it's less important. Now, the carbs at night thing, I pointed that out because we know that carbs don't store as body fat for the most part. They can hypothetically store as body fat in small amounts in active people, but we aren't talking about large amounts, meaning a couple of grams of carbs might convert to fat. So this idea that before bed isn't a big deal, and people say, well, you're not burning a lot of fat while you're sleeping if you ate a huge amount of carbs. And so, yeah, that's true. You're probably going to be burning more fat when you're training. You really think you're burning tons of fat while you're sleeping. It's not a big deal. That's when your body's recovering. Give it nutrients to recover itself, get some glycogen stores in, and it gives you training fuel for the next day. 2, we know that carbs help produce melatonin. That's why you get sleepy after a big carb meal. Oftentimes it's not always a spike in blood sugar like people think it is. Instead, it causes your body to release more melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. So yes, carbs before bed can help you get a better night's sleep, which in turn can improve performance and recovery. So there's a couple of good reasons to eat some carbs before bed, and I'm not saying they're going to make a dramatic difference. It's not going to give you an extra 5 pounds of muscle this year to do that, but it could give you a small boost. There are small benefits to doing this for your performance, for your rest, for your recovery, but it's not going to make or break you. Just like timing will never make or break you for people who only train once a day. Now, if you're a serious athlete training 2 or 3 times a day, you better learn a lot about timing because it starts to matter a lot. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.